Hello, this is the Just Because Buzz FlossTube Extra. We're going to do a Christmas bunting of sorts, and I've been wanting to do this project for a long time. I've had the cross-stitch pieces stitched for a long time, and now I finally have found some fabric that I really love that I want to do or use for the background of the bunting. So today, instead of just talking nonstop through this video, I'm going to basically let you watch me sew, and I'll add some text at the bottom to let you know what I'm doing. I'll go ahead and show you now just to give you an idea. Some of you have already seen these if you've watched my YouTube videos. I've stitched different floral motifs. I don't know if you would call them motifs. They're actually more like, it's called Noel Naturals, and it's came out of this cross-stitch magazine, For the Love of Cross-Stitch, and this is January of 1999 with a pretty Santa on the front. And the picture is of these really pretty Christmassy type greenery floral pieces, and they finished theirs as ornaments with cording around them, but I envisioned them on a bunting. I love bunting, so I have stitched all of them. I found a fabric line that I really like that came out this year. In fact, I actually found it last year, maybe last spring or so, when they start showing the Christmas lines that come out for this year. And it is a Three Sisters quilt design called A Christmas Carol by Moda. And I just love these fabrics. They are absolutely gorgeous. And so, for instance, this is Bayberries, and this is the 10-inch. I bought a 10-inch stacker or 10-inch layer cakes. And this is what I'm going to use to make the bunting. And it's a very simple process. I don't have to cut the 10-inch squares. I'm just going to fold them in half on the diagonal. So folded them in half, and I'm going to stitch down one side, and then I will press that, I will open it, and then I will press it in such a way that this seam is up the center of the back of the front of the bunting. So I have an example here. This was a 10-inch square, I believe. And so here is my seam. It's a little bit hard to see on this, but there's my seam. And I pressed it open, and then I pressed it so that I could fold that flap down, and then this is going to be the front. So this was just to test it out. So I'm going to sew a bunch of these. I'm going to have the camera pointed so you can watch me sew if you want to. I might try to put some music behind it or whatever. And then I just was going to kind of show you the process of how I'm going to put them together. And then I have some beautiful Mercury ornaments that I want to use as the bottom on the point of the bunting. So I have a vision, so we'll see if I can bring it to fruition. Okay, so I'm gonna back my 10-inch squares with Decor Bond, and I have cut my Decor Bond at 9.5 inches square, and this is gonna give my little pieces for each of the banner pennant parts. It's going to give it some more stability for when I attach my cross stitch piece to it. So I'm going to move my cross stitch piece out of the way for a moment and flip this over and iron my Decor Bond to the back of my piece. And I've done this for most, I'm doing this for all of the 10-inch squares. There's 11 10-inch squares that I'm using for this project. So I'm going to center my 9.5-inch Decor Bond on the back of my fabric. This is the wrong side of the fabric. I'm going to center it. And then the instructions for the Decor Bond say that you use a damp cloth with an iron set to steam and wool. And then you just move your iron around. So I've got a damp cloth here. And you move your iron around every 10 to 15 seconds to get it to adhere. Okay, so I've got this ironed on now, and it has a good weight to it now. So when I get ready to sew and assemble my pennant, it's gonna have a good structure and it'll hold my cross stitch piece. So I'm ready to sew my banner together, or my pennant. I'm not sure which to call it. It's more like pennants. So I'm going to point the camera down to the sewing machine so you can see how you form the shape of each pennant. And I will probably sew a couple of those and then turn the video off and then come back after all of them are sewn and show all of them to you. So I have my 10-inch square here, and I have the Decor Bond on it, and I'm going to fold it corner to corner. And since the Decor Bond's on there, it's not quite as flexible, so I'm going to go ahead and pin this so that I can keep my edges straight. Check that. Okay, So I'm going to put a little leader into my machine here, and a little piece of fabric that helps get me started without my thread getting bunched up or down into the machine. I'm going to lengthen my stitch just a little bit, and then I'm doing about a 2.8, and I've got my needle down, and I think I'm ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to sew, and I am going to back tack this. And I've just got a neutral thread in here. It's an Aurifil. It's a 50 weight, and it's just a neutral color. I'm using a 1/4 inch seam. To keep my edges from slipping, they want to slip a little bit. So I can get in there and get it. Okay, so that's our first one. Take off these. And then I'm going to, I want to press my seams open. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to sew one more like this, then I'll go to the machine, press them open, show it to you, and then we'll turn it. So let's sew one more. So corner to corner, diagonally. Go down here and pin this point. It's a little more fiddly with the Decor Bond on it because it's stiff, so it's not like just your nice weight of your fabric when you just take it out of the layer cake. But we want the stiffness so that the pennant hangs nicely. That's my hope anyway. I'm kind of doing this, I've looked at some instructions on pennants, but I haven't necessarily seen someone do this exact finish for a cross stitch, so I'm kind of out here kind of going as I go and learning as I go. I just realized I didn't back tack on the other corner, so I'm going to have to go back and do that. It's wanting to bunch up on me here, so I'm going to pull my pins out and try to get it straight. And I'm going to stick this one back under and get that seam so I can back tack it and make sure it doesn't come out. Okay. All right. I'm going to take these over to the iron and press the seams open, and then we'll turn. Okay, so I pressed my seam open, and now I'm going to turn it. So let's see what we get. I've not turned these before with the Decor Bond on them, so maybe quite the experience here. Try to hold it up so you can see. Pretty stiff. Trusty chopstick to go the rest of the way. I have to work out these little creases. Getting there. And that might be it. Okay, so then my little purple thing has a little tip there that might be helpful to get it to come out a little bit more. That might be it. I'm gonna add, my plan is to add a Mercury Glass ornament to the end, so it won't be completely necessary to get it completely pointy, because there'll be something decorative down at the end. Okay, so here is the shape without it being pressed. So then I'm going to press it. I'm going to center my seam. So here's my seam with my point as best I can. I'll press it, and then I'm going to press this down. Get that centered. And then this will be the pennant part. And my plan is to attach this to my pennant part, pennant, for a decorative Christmas pennant. So we'll see how it goes. I'll see you in a few minutes. So here are all of the pennant pieces stitched and folded, and they're ready for the next step, which I'm trying to decide what that should be. I need to attach my cross stitch pieces to each one, but I also need to figure out how I'm going to hang them. And I think I want to use this as my method of hanging them. It's a piece of fall, just regular, I guess, jute, and I'm not sure how I'm gonna like that. I was trying to go with something kind of natural, so we'll see. I may go ahead and sew a casing for these to slide onto, for the jute to slide in through. So it would be like stitching maybe a 1/2 inch to 5/8 inch from the edge and create a casing. And then for attaching these, I'm thinking about using some vintage buttons just up here in the corners. So right here, some white, or maybe creamy white vintage buttons to go, just 2 on each of those corners. And then for the point down here is where I would like to use the Mercury Glass ornament, so attaching those. So that's where I am right now. I'm gonna decide how I want to do my casing, and then I will come back. Okay, so now I have sewn my casing, so I'll get up close for you. I've sewn a 3/4 inch casing across the top of my pennant. And so it's open here at the end, so I can slide my jute rope through the top of it. And then I'm going to use the stitching line as a guide as to where I want to place my stitched piece. So probably I'll put it just where this stitching is. I will probably put it just maybe below that. So I want a little bit of the top of this to show. So I'll play around with that. But I had a happy discovery. My cord here, that is the jute, is wired. So I will be able to hopefully easily run it through. I've already done a trial run of it going through the top here. So it feeds pretty good. I put a piece of tape on the end of it. It was fraying a little bit, so that helped scoot it through. And I think once I get them all on there, I may put a bow between each intersection, something like this. That might help them stay in place. So I'll have to see how that looks. But my next step is to add buttons. So I want to choose my buttons that are going to go in the corners here to attach my cross stitch piece to my pennant. So that's my next step, and deciding exactly where I want my pieces to sit. I might even just have the top of my fringe rest on the stitch line, and that way they'll all be about the same spot, because I do want some of the fabric to show at the top. So that's my next step, is choosing from my button collection here of off-white and white buttons. I think that would look pretty on these. And I will add probably 2 in each corner here, and well, 2 buttons, 1 in each corner, and then I will be ready to feed them on to the jute wire cording, and then we'll get ready to hang it and see if we want to add bows or not. So I will be back. Okay, so now I have added the buttons, and so the cross stitch pieces are attached to each of their respective little pennants. And you'll see scattered in there, I have my Mercury ornaments, and I'm going to add those to the tips of the pennants. And then I will string my pennants on the wire jute, and then next we will see if I want bows between the pennants. So I'm getting there, and I'm taking you along with me, and I hope you're enjoying this, and I will see you again soon after I have attached the Mercury ornaments. I think what I'm going to use is a Perle Cotton thread, I think, and just tie a little bow maybe. I'm not sure how I want to do them, so I'm going to play around with it, and when I come back I'll share with you how I did it. Okay, so I have stitched on the Mercury Glass baubles on the ends of each of my pennants, and I just did a little whip stitch with a matching thread to the hanger of each bauble, and so I may add a little bow down there, a little tiny ribbon bow. We'll just have to see. Now I think I'm going to thread them on, figure out what order I like, and thread them on, and we'll see how I like that, and may consider adding a ribbon between each one. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how these are coming out. seems to be working as planned. So I thought I would show you how I am putting the wired jute through my backing on my pennants. So I have a bodkin, and I don't know if you can see that. It grabs, it has like this little clamp with a little disc that slides down the shaft, and it will clamp onto the end of what you're trying to thread through. And it's called a bodkin, and these are really handy tools. And so remember, I made a casing by just sewing 3/4 of an inch from the edge to make a casing for my pennant. I'm sorry for the noise, but the ornaments on the end. So I'm just going to thread this through. I've already threaded 9 of them. So you just put it through and you just thread it. So sorry for the noise, but... And then you can just push it through because of the wire, and there's the bodkin coming out the other end. And then I could just thread it along and go to the next one. And this is actually the last one. And just trying to show you where I'm putting that. And then this will go through the channel in the back. And pick it up so it won't make so much noise. I did have to tape that wire because there was a little piece of wire sticking out at the end of the jute. So I put a piece of tape over that to try to keep it from catching in my seam. For some reason I'm catching on something as soon as you get on camera, you know. I'm pushing this through. There it goes. So here's the end of it. Okay. So I just wanted to share that with you. I'll come back in a moment. We'll have it hung up and we'll decide if we're going to do bows or not. So this is where I have landed on my pennant. Decided to hang it in my sewing room across my window. And I like the red bows. I still need to tidy them up, but I don't have enough ribbon, and I would really like a couple of more rows. So anyway, I'm still trying to decide how to finish this completely. I think I want 2 big bows on either end and the bows in between, and then I think I will really like it. So there you go.